Hello and welcome back to the channel. Amber here, and today I am joined once again by Laura from A Brick Without a Wall podcast, and we are talking episode 207, Daes Dae'mar. And we've got a nice flashback to start out with right there in the
Yeah,
beginning.
we did.
With the flashback, we have Guitarra Moroso, who is an elderly Aes Sedai,
Mm,
having a vision of baby Rand, little dragon reborn, being born. Dragon reborn being born.
yeah. The baby dragon coming into the world.
Little baby dragon.
Little baby
Yeah.
dragon.
I
Um,
expected a lot more weight with this or with this scene, I guess. I was expecting fear, terror, like earth crumbling, spine tingling, almost like a horror aspect, I guess, just because this is such a huge event. But they went a different route that was kind of like a little bit more somber in tone, I guess.
Definitely. As a viewer, I mean, it was there, but it didn't, yeah, like you said, it didn't have a lot of like weight or impact to it. It's just Swan Sanche and Moiraine, and it makes it look like they just happen to walk in on this, and then it happens, and then she dies. And there's not really like, why was the vision so powerful that she died, or was she having a vision in her last moments of life? Like, which one's the cart and which one's the horse here?
In the books, you don't know either. Like it just
Okay.
happens. So one of the things that always feels like such an obvious thing to me is in movies or books or whatever when you get like a scene of like happy times where it's like everything's going to be great. We're going to do this when we retire. Everything's going to be wonderful. And you can always expect like when someone states like this will be easy or we'll just do this no problem, like that's never how it works out. So like this scene of Moraine and Swan pretty much just kind of like skipping through the halls of the White Tower, being so in love and planning their retirement, I'm like, oh no, this isn't going to end well for either of these women.
I did like that aspect of the flashback. Like, it was nice to see them when they were younger and before they got caught up in everything that is Rand al'Thor. Uh, I do think it was kind of a nice way to start the episode with that flashback. I just wish that they had given the foretelling a little bit more impact, seeing as how that specific moment is the catalyst that brought us everything that we're at currently.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I as soon as I saw it, like the eyes on the screen, like the woman in the eyes, I was like, "Oh, here it comes." And I was getting ready for that like that moment. And I guess just being a book reader, it's such a huge moment and I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, I guess that is what
Guess
happens."
guess we're doing it that way.
Yeah, yeah. But this leads us into the episode where we have Rand pretty much being summoned by the Amyrlin seat and Lan getting him ready for that meeting. And this moment is a book moment. Like this whole exchange between Rand and Lan happens in the books. So I was happy to see it. But again, it it felt like real quick, real sweet, short to the point, and then we're moving on.
And we are moving on quickly,
Yeah, very
like
quickly.
real quickly. So in our next scene, it's Lan and Rand. And Lan shows up. And this is actually one of my favorite scenes of this episode. And he just flat out tells Rand to stop being so selfish. He was meant to protect the world, not just those that he loves. Well said, Lan. Thank you for stepping in with that. Because
Yeah,
nobody's really approached Rand in that method so far. Like, you're not just here for you and those people that you love. The wheel brought you back to be here for everybody who needs you.
right, right. That's a really good point, and I didn't even think about that. that's so much of what Rand's story is. Like throughout the entire series, it's him kind of being like, "Oh man, I don't want to do this. Why does it have to be me? Why do I have to be the one to go through all of this trauma? Like when I could just be living a normal life." And
Yeah.
you get it throughout the show a little bit, but I don't think it hits as hard. They've aged him up a little bit too, so he doesn't have that like childlike, man, why does it have to be this way?
He
But
doesn't have, like, prime teenage angst behind it.
yeah,
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 aging him up even, like, 4 or 5 years did a lot for his maturity too.
yeah, yeah. So, what did you think about Swan Sanche's plan for Rand?
I mean, so her plan was to announce him in Kyrian with 14 Aes Sedai, and this is, from what I understood, in order to, like, fully impress that the Dragon Reborn is siding with the side of the light, and that also it possibly kind of seemed like she was also going to have 14 Aes Sedai there, is because that's like what it takes to gentle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
felt like all of the numbers were very, like, well calculated on who's going to be there, how many people will be there, what's going to be happening. But a big part of Rand's destiny is to be announced in the fires, like the fires in the sky above Falm, right?
yeah, that was something that
Like
Verin
he
has said twice. Yeah,
Yeah. I do see why Swan Sanche is moving towards starting a new plan, because to her, it seems like their current plan has failed, especially when she finds out Moraine's been stilled
yep,
and that
yep,
Moraine's been lying by omission about
right,
it.
right.
So, but I don't know. Like, I don't, would her plan have worked? How would that have, like, would that have really gone anywhere useful, especially with Lanfear on the loose close by?
No, no,
Yeah.
there's no way unless. So the other part of her plan was to keep him shielded and pretty much a prisoner, and then just pretty much letting him out when they need him to channel. But he's only allowed to channel what they want when they want, which,
Right. I heard her mention that, and I was like, okay, so she's not really trying to, like, sell this plan to him. She's just telling him, like, this is what it could be. I'm being nice and I'm not going to do that to you. Like, I don't know. I don't think that her plan was the best way to approach Rand at this juncture. He's
right.
still very new. He wants to learn how to channel. Swan came in kind of hot for me here. Like, Swan came in and was like, we could just make you a slave. But
Yeah,
I don't think she realizes that Rand has figured out that he has, like, a mega powerful baddie girlfriend.
yeah, yeah,
Like, Swan
yeah,
Sanche does not know that Rand and Lanfear have been playing house for how many months in Kyrian, and Lanfear is not here to share him. Like, she's not trying to do that.
no.
Like,
I think
not at all.
one of my favorite scenes of this episode was when Rand tells Moiraine, like, look, the Forsaken aren't going to be happy when they know that I'm here in Kyrian, a prisoner of the Amyrlin seat. And kind of like looks at Leanne and then looks at Rand, and she's like pretty much giving him permission, like, go get Lanfear, go holler at her. At least that's how I interpreted it.
It was an interesting scene for sure. I don't think I expected things to blow up the way they did in that scene. Like, I did not expect it to turn into a jailing situation where they're like, we're just going to leave you shielded here, and then we're going to have people watch you in Moraine, because this doesn't seem like the good plan.
No, they shouldn't have let Moiraine in the jail cell with him, the prison
Yeah.
cell. Like,
the
like
idea, the, the
I guess
idea
I
of
guess because
trusting her.
I guess because they thought she was stilled at the time, like she couldn't do anything, but they have
he didn't scramble her brain when he stilled her. He just cut her off from
Yeah.
channeling.
Yeah. Like, you don't underestimate this woman. Like, we've seen throughout the
No.
entire series how tactical and cold she is. And it's really the Kyrian way. Like, on top of that, she's an Aes Sedai, and on top of that, she's been like given significant loss in her life for everything that she's put forward to do. So like you cannot discount this woman. You cannot.
No.
And
Also, you can't trust her.
mm-mm, mm-mm,
I mean, honestly, you can't trust her as her superior, like supervisor, to think she'll follow the rules. Like, all she's done the entire time we've been watching is do things Moraine's way.
go
She
rogue.
was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to do this instead. And then I'm going to do these things to make it okay.
Okay, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but just
Go for it.
talking about Moiraine made me think about her sister. And like for for so long this whole season, I'm like, is she or isn't she going to be a dark friend? Is it going to be Barthanes? Is it going to be the sister? Is it going to be both? Like, what's the combination here? And
Okay.
go
I
ahead.
I know that we've talked about them and which one is going to be the dark friend. And I was still like shocked it was Barthanes. Like, you cad. But then he talks about how that's how like he joined the dark to restore their family's name. And it's like, do you can you blame him? Like, the trauma and losses that were suffered over what happened to their family. I mean, can you blame him?
As many of the dark friends that we've gotten so far throughout the series, his makes the most sense to me. Like
Absolutely.
being in a position of
Absolutely.
power, having it taken away. And not only that, like there's a little bit of it feels like there's a little bit of like a mama's boy in there where he's like doing this not just for him, but for her too. Like
Oh,
he's going to make her proud.
I think there's definitely a sense of that and a sense of family duty that comes with, we see it across like period dramas, we see it in other fantasy series that when you come from like these well entitled and powerful families, like that becomes ingrained in who you are in your identity. And so like I do see Barthanes being like, okay, I can restore my family's name, I can make my mom happy, I can do right by my family, like nobody has to count on Moiraine to come back and save the day, because that's been kind of a theme through the season is
Right.
Moiraine basically abandoned the family in their greatest time of need, and following that abandonment their entire like worldview shattered into pieces. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It was, man, his mom did stick to the righteous path, though. She had him
Yeah.
jailed and
Yeah.
she narked on him immediately. She didn't even just jail him and be like, Barthanes, come to your senses, please. She was like, I've already told. Bye.
Yep. Yep.
It was
That's I don't
wild.
know. In the books, I've always loved like the Daes Dae'mar, the episode title means the game of houses. So it's all of these political undertones that are happening in Kyrian. Now, on one hand, I loved what we got. On the other hand, I thought it was going to be more. Like I thought it was going to be okay, so it this is hard to kind of think about. While the entire episode mostly revolves around Kyrian, I thought it was going to be a lot more manipulative, a lot more cloak and dagger, instead of it just kind of focusing on this one plot line with Moiraine, her sister, and Barthanes. That to me, like the familial trauma, that was the Game of Houses. But since it was the episode title, like, oh, I expected it to carry all the way through. But
So
it
did I.
didn't.
So did I did expect a little bit bigger.
So yeah, the Game of Houses was a little bit watered down,
It was a
maybe.
little underwhelming, but it's not that it was terrible by any means.
Right.
I was still like, "Oh man, she put him in jail and she turned him over?" Because I was like, I don't know if I'd do that to my kid. I don't know if I'm that righteous.
There's a part too where like when they're, like he's locked up screaming through the little hole.
The tiny.
She she has her guards come in and I'm like, is she executing him? Like is he
I
gonna
thought he was
die
being
now?
arrested.
Or or is well, I thought those were like her house guards. So like I didn't know if it was an arrest, a death sentence, or just like I'm putting my best people here to guard the door to make sure he doesn't get out.
If somebody such as a Forsaken or a Black Aja
Leandrin,
or Leandrin show up to free him, I'm not sure what those house guards are going to really do.
no.
Speaking of Leandrin, when she shows up at the Damodred house, the unadulterated gull she uses in those engagements, perfect.
When she
I love
kicks Lady
her.
Amber out of the room in her own house. Oh.
What did she say? She said something like, I'm tired of waiting, and then just stares at Barthanes, and he's like, got it. Time to go,
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah. See you later. Bye, Mumsy. I loved the scene too where she's got her ear to the like hole. I don't know. I don't know. That like it hit a level of camp for me that I really liked where I was like, oh, it's just I don't know.
I love Leandrin's scenes. They're so good. I love
Yeah.
them.
So should we talk a little bit about like the B plots, the
Yes.
micro scenes as you called them?
They are micro scenes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, when we had talked earlier, I had said I think it would have maybe been more enjoyable for me if these scenes, instead of them each getting two, so like the mat sequence gets like two moments. Nynaeve and Elaine get two moments. Egwene out in the Domine practice field gets two.
Don't
Perrin and
Perrin
Aviendha, yeah.
too.
hmm For me, I think maybe like these quick back and forth made it hard for me to retain the information of what all was happening, where I had to keep going back and be like, okay, did this happen? No, okay, that happened. And I was like losing my thoughts, I guess, and not understanding as much as I could because I keep getting pulled from one place to the other. I think they could have maybe combined some of those and just made them longer so
Agreed.
it felt a little bit more fluid and less like chopped up.
I feel like when the scenes are shorter like that, like the micro scenes as I've been calling them, it makes it harder to have anything but like more shallow leveled thoughts about them. Like let's take Egwene in her first scene as a Damani where she does her power test. Like I'm stoked to see her do well, but my primary takeaway was I really enjoy Loyal's fancy cummerbund. Like that was my takeaway in that scene because you get to a point where you just keep telling yourself you're like, "Oh, okay, well the scene's really short. I'm sure it'll pick back up and then I'll understand more." And so you end up with these like disjointed impressions of these smaller
Mhm.
scenes that kind of get lost behind some of the bigger arcs that they're positioned near.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I will say out of all of the, like, B plots and the micro scenes, I think my favorite was Elaine, like,
Oh,
whacking the Saldam with a stick.
I think okay, Nynaeve and Elaine were my favorite micro scenes, and I loved when Loyal like takes bends the knee and starts speaking to Elaine about being the heiress of Andor, and Nynaeve says, "Get up, don't encourage her."
It was so cute. I
I love it.
loved
I
it.
love
I
it.
loved it. She's
Oh
like, "Yeah, yeah,
man.
you're welcome. You sing in his ears, whatever. Get up, get up." And
They
then
they make the best team.
those are the scenes where this episode that hit me hard with the nostalgia, like the book nostalgia.
Look, I could watch whole episodes of just Nynaeve and Elaine scenes. Like, if all we were doing was just following the two of them, I would be okay with that. I'm not saying that like I
Yeah.
dislike anything else, but I do enjoy those scenes so much that I could definitely watch hours of that on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, it and that's another thing too, like, everything happening with Moiraine and Siuan Sanche and Rand and Lan, like, I feel like that's what was supposed to be, like, the A plot of this
Right.
episode. But in choosing to do these small cuts, like, here and there, like, with Perrin and Aviendha, like, did that micro scene make a lot of sense to you
No,
or
neither of them
okay.
did. Honestly,
Okay.
I enjoy Perrin, I enjoy Avienda, but I feel like they got the short sticks on scenes here. I would have almost rather just waited and had a bigger scene from them later on, or just had both. I honestly feel like they probably could have combined both of their micro scenes into one. There's another one where here's my primary takeaway. I could have watched a whole montage of Hopper walking through the Aiel waste. That's
They
my
were
takeaway. I know that Avienda gets beat up, but like they don't really expand on the context of why she willingly gets jumped. So I was like, look at Hopper, Hopper being delightful. It's just, it's hard to latch on and invest in a scene when they're moving through them so quickly. And they're like, as a viewer, as somebody who hasn't read the books, I'm lacking a lot of context and I know it.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, well, I'll check in on that once it concludes.
they weren't in the Io Waste, they were outside
They
of
weren't?
home somewhere.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
but
actually, I know that. I know that. I keep wanting to make it the Aiel Waste though. Like in my head, I'm like tracking across.
but what makes it confusing is where she says, like, "This place felt like home," where they buried her. So
Okay,
that's
no,
yeah,
them burying her there is what directly made me think that. And then I
yeah,
realized that they see Falm, but that's like in the other scene.
yeah, yeah.
So for
You
all
don't
I
know how
know,
much
they
time has passed.
yeah, I don't know. They could have that might have been the ideal waste. See, it
Yeah,
didn't there wasn't enough context in those in their scenes for me to understand what on earth is happening outside of that they're traveling.
did you understand the beating? Like, the
Later on I did. It made
okay,
sense when she gave like a rough cut explanation of what happened. I was like, okay, it's just a cultural law.
yeah,
That's
that's
all
pretty
it
much
is.
it.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, so that's fine, but I wish they would have left like, I wish they would have dropped a hint of context about that, what either right before, during, or even immediately after she got jumped.
Yeah.
Like,
A lot of women beating people this episode.
I mean,
Egwene's Elaine's had a stick.
she took a pretty severe beating too. Like, when I saw that flying punch come through, I was like, "Oh man, she's not playing."
Nope. I liked Hopper getting, like well, I didn't
Mad.
like Hopper getting, like, upset about the situation. I was like, "Oh, he doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah,
Someone
exactly. I
help
was
the
like, "I
dog."
feel the same, but let him know."
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some of the other micro scenes. Okay, Matt. What is going on with Matt?
I have no
Like,
idea.
I've read the books. I've watched this episode like 3 times. I cannot figure out what's happening. There's, I guess, 2 options.
Yeah.
One is, like, the tea really is just making him hallucinate and see, like, his thousands of, like, souls throughout
That's
time being
what
reborn.
he was seeing in the mirror, was like the shards of his past lives, correct?
That's
But
yeah, that's
specifically like the less than righteous deeds. So we've got himself drowning him in a someone else in a bucket who I couldn't really tell who it was.
I thought it was
And
Pot
then
on Fane for a moment.
I was just like, "Oh man, we got a lot of things happening in this trifold mirror." And then in like the center cut, we've got him hanging
Hanging.
himself. And then I don't even remember what was in the third cut. Then we've got it like an apparition of his mother, which She would be specifically from this turn of the wheel, wouldn't she?
I would assume, yeah.
I mean, I didn't get the idea that we spend eternity rotating out with the same other souls, because I mean, like, that would be kind of unfair. So, but I have a lot of there's only two scenes in there's only a couple plot lines that I'm like really kind of ready to come for their throat. And one of them is the Matt one, because is he in the dream world? Are Ishi and Lanfear teaming up? Because that's antagonistic to every bit of data I have absorbed about Ishi and Lanfear and their relationship with one another. So now suddenly it seems like they're helping each other, or is one of them doing that thing where they're going to pose as the other in the
Right,
dream world?
right. In the books, there's something similar that happens, but
Okay. But
it is through, it's like an object of the one power. It's some type of ancient, weird thing. They don't know how it was made or how it came about, but a portal stone, you go in, you get fast travel, but there are consequences to it.
okay.
Like rapid fire images of all of your alternate lives. So like I'm trying to think a little bit like of a
When you say alternate lives, does that mean past and future lives, or does that just mean past?
it could be past parallel, like
Okay, because I was
multiple
like,
multiple
because
worlds even.
when
Like
you said alternate, that was like distinctly different than past
past.
lives.
Exactly. And that's where I'm confused with the Ishi scene or the Matt Ishi Lanfear T scene because he said like these are your past lives or all of them. So I'm like, okay, but this doesn't look like the past. Like this is his
It,
family. These are people in
yeah.
this timeline that he's with. And as a book reader, I know that some of the scenes he is seeing in this flash hallucination are from the future. So like
Okay.
confusion.
So
I'm the cat,
also
the
the
confusion
whole,
cat.
yeah,
Sorry.
there's a lot of confusion there, because now it's like, is he actually showing him past turns of that soul, or is he showing alternate dimensions of that? Like,
Right.
there's a lot of confusion. Honestly, the conversation that Ishi and Matt have in the beginning, Matt sounds like a moron in the conversation, because Ishmael's trying to talk to him about the existential issues of humanity. And he's like, is this a sex thing or a murder thing? I don't want to hear either. Bro, grow up.
If you listen, you would learn.
If you would have
Matchroom.
listened, you would have learned, and you wouldn't like, plus like in the end, Ishmael's all like, you don't have to live this way anymore. We can end it together. And I was like, this is why he keeps coming for Matt, because Matt's the kind of person who's so busy being obstinate and like obnoxious that he doesn't realize how close he's letting these Forsaking like get into his mind and learn about him.
Right? Right?
He
That's an
he has
interesting
gotta
point.
grow up. He has gotta grow
Yeah.
up quickly. The scene itself actually, like, visually was very enjoyable.
I did like the Ishamael moment where he's saying, all of this time respinning, like the suffering, this and that, like I just want to close my eyes. And Matt says, "How? What do I do?
Yeah.
How?"
Yeah, that's the
So,
exact moment I was referencing when I was like, he's not cognizant that he's letting them in, and he's
right,
letting a
right,
really dangerous one in. Like, you really gonna let Ishmael in there, the philosopher, to, like, tinker
right.
around with your thoughts? I do wanna say this, though, and it's very petty, but his Ishi's vest was a 10. I loved it.
Oh, it was so
His
good. It
little
was
his
so
leather
good.
moment, I loved it. It
Yes.
was, his outfit, killer.
All of his outfits are so good.
Oh,
Ugh.
they are. They're so good.
I like to just his demeanor in every episode. You're not quite sure exactly what you're going to get. Are you going to get the philosopher, the deep thinker, or are you going to get like the playful side of him? He's got it all. And it just, such
He
a well
does.
rounded
He's a
character.
10. He's a 10.
Yeah,
He knows how to dress, he knows how to think, he's amazing. I just love
got it
him.
all.
And Ferris makes it a killer
Yeah.
visual
Yes.
adaptation of the character. He does a killer job.
Yeah, he really does. He really
Yeah.
does.
The facial expressions, everything is so perfect together. I love it. Can we talk about Egwene's second scene?
Yeah, so the display of like her power
Yeah, no,
or the washing.
the washing.
Okay, okay.
This this scene was like weird for me
Okay.
because is that actually happening or is she dreaming?
I think it's
Because
actually happening.
that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure I didn't misinterpret it. If this is actually happening, how did Egwene outsmart like magical binding?
Okay, go into it more so people
So
understand what you're talking about.
when I say that, like magical binding would be like the rules of engagement within, because I mean, channeling is magic in this
Yeah.
case. So we have learned, especially in episode 6, that
Mhm.
Egwene will have to submit in order for this magic to stop punishing her for her like insubordinate behavior. And
Mhm.
now we fast forward, she submits in season, or not season, but in 206. She does her power test at the beginning of 207. Then we get to like mid to late 207. Now we have Renna washing her. And then Egwene's like, I'm going to kill you one day. And Renna just gets mad and storms out.
Yeah.
How
Yep.
how is this possible from everything we've learned? It just feels like I don't know if I missed something along the way or did something about these like integral like rules of engagement for this form of magic change somewhere, but how is she suddenly,
Able to make a threat
yeah,
like
like
that.
how is she circumventing the whole foundation of how they use magic in Shan Chen? Also, why did Egwene even say it? Why didn't you keep that to yourself? That seems like the better tactical move. Then you could surprise Renna later on with it,
Right? Oh,
instead
yeah,
of
from a
warning
tactical move,
and
absolutely. Yes.
"Hey, I'm gonna kill you later. Watch out."
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why would you tell her?
So the whole thing in the last episode with the pitcher, Egwene thought about using the pitcher as a weapon. So
Right.
like because she thought of it, the bond through the leash and the cuff would not allow her to touch it until she made a conscious decision or at least like subconscious decision to stop seeing this item as a weapon.
Right.
The thing is like it doesn't, the magical bond or whatever through the cuff and the leash doesn't prevent her from making a threat, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So
Because
it's just
it was kind of portrayed in 206 that making a threat, even in your mind, is going to
exactly
result in like a walloping. Because
right.
it's not that she just can't touch the pitcher, she's getting like walloped every
Yeah.
time she tries, like in exchange. So that's where there was so much focus on behavior and punishment and indoctrination and, control in the last episode, that it was like really jarring for her to suddenly have the ability to say whatever she wants. And last time she made a threat at Renna beat the life out of her. This time
Yep.
she got her feelings hurt and left the room. Maybe that's reasonable, but we didn't see enough transition in their relationship to justify why Renna is suddenly like distraught instead of angry.
The only thing that I can think of is that in this episode, Renna got some accolades for having such a strong Damani. So I'm just wondering, like, and I'm not trying to like go back and be like, this
Honestly,
is this is why, but it could be now like that she is going somewhere, she's got this super strong slave that's going to make her give her more status because like that's exactly how their culture works. It's not even like about her. It's about Egwene being like so powerful. She controls this piece of power. She's not,
right.
that's all it is. So she probably is trying to keep things at least like a little bit of a plateau so that she can keep using Egwene. Because if they're at each other's throats and she can't even get Egwene out there to channel, like she's going to lose that level of like status for
Right.
herself.
I wish they had given a lot more context. I know that the focus was very much the emotional experience, and I don't blame them for doing that. But these scenes could have done better with maybe just a little bit more context to them.
Yep, and that's, I guess, like, going back to the micro scenes, it is
Yeah.
hard to, like, make such a large chunk of the episode about Kyrian, but then still want to have the understanding of what's going on elsewhere, where it's, like, little snippets here and there, and I don't know, this whole episode felt like a speed run. Like, if you ever watch like
Yeah.
someone do like games online where they just like speed through it, and it's like we got to hit this point, hit that point, get this person here, get that person there, tie up this loose end. And it is so fast in this episode that it's hard for me to gather my thoughts.
Some of the scenes were incredibly quick and we're like fast flipping through the Rolodex of characters trying to touch base with everybody so we know where everyone's at and what they're doing. But like you said, we have this major Kyrian plot line to wrap up, and obviously it's going to have to be wrapped up before fall.
Right. Right.
So I think that it was probably also hard to take an episode that is like sped up some and drop it right behind a really well done,
Yep.
slower paced episode, because I
Yep.
think that part of it is that 6 is so, like, in my opinion, perfectly paced for the story that
Mhm.
7 ended up feeling even more sped up.
To the detriment of like everything that we're talking about, it really hurt my empathy, I guess, in dealing with Moiraine and Siuan Sanche, because I didn't feel like I was totally spending enough time with them to like really like be invested in this
That's a
like
perfect way to
absolute
put it. Yeah.
division between the two of them.
So if we're gonna go to
Yeah.
well, I guess we are pretty much at the last scenes. This was a really quick and tidy wrap up for Moraine's channeling issue. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect a reveal about her channeling so soon. I thought we were going to go at least to season 3 with her being stilled or
Mhm.
shielded as we now know it
Yeah.
to be. And then we have a series of micro scenes that stitch together in order to equal Moraine getting her channeling back. This this end scene is really difficult for me in a different way than like what I was talking about with the Matt scene, because there are just things that don't make sense in this scene. Rand doesn't know how to channel. And while I understand that it's very plausible for Lan to have gotten the info from Logain, who, just want to say, his scene was a 10. I loved
I
his little,
forgot to
like,
talk about him.
I
Yes, the
love
whole,
his
like, the
these or
knot.
the weaves dance, like, love
It
it.
was so good.
It was
That's a
so
scene
good.
where I'm like, they could have let that go on a little bit longer for me.
Oh,
I would have loved
agreed. That was a
it.
micro scene that needed at least double its time.
Yep.
But so it's very believable that Lan could get all of this information together. He has the experience, he has knowledge, like he knows what he's talking about. But when he's like, Rand, you got to break the weave, and then we're going to let Moraine do the gate. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? What do you mean Rand al'Thor is going to try and break open an Ishmael self-sustaining weave? Like, they don't. Moraine was shocked when she heard that it was a self-sustaining weave.
Mhm.
Even she
Yeah.
was shocked. And then everybody's like, Rand's got this. Don't worry. And she goes, I trust you. And then I see that like channel blade come out, and I was like, oh, bro, she's taking that in the heart because he's all shaking. And
It was like Operation, the game Operation. I was like, "Oh, no."
But when he like, and I'm not mad that he was able to do it or anything. It's not like I want Moraine to stay stilled. It just felt like too quick and too purposeful. Like he's suddenly being granted abilities we all know he does not have. And my other
Yeah.
issue, what on earth happened to Lanfear in those moments that she was suddenly, because she even rolls in and she's like, I told you I was going to kill her the
Mhm.
next time I see her. And he's like, no, Lanfear, please don't. I'll go with you. And then she was like, bring your
Okay.
friends too.
Yeah.
Bring Lan and Moraine. I'd love to have them as travel companions. Like that was, there were just those two things that don't really make sense from everything we've learned so far.
The Rand breaking or cutting the knot, I guess. That was the one for me where last episode, like that was my really my only complaint where it was like, okay, a little bit more time with Logain would have been good. And at the time that I made that statement, I did not know that this was going to be like
Right.
the next part of that plot. I assumed we were going to get to episode 8 and Rand is going to have to fight. So he's going to need to know what's going on. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that it was going to be that was necessary for Rand to cut the knot on Moraine's shield. So like when it happened, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like if I want to go back and be like, "Okay, this is how it could make sense." So, like, our only option is that via Rand's past life as Luz Theron, he has still, like, he's retained his, like, past life memories where,
Okay.
excellent channeler, one of the best, Forsaken level, something like that. There's that, or it's just like the pattern being like, this is what needs to happen. So you got lucky.
Okay. That
But
makes sense, but I think that there could be again a little more context added in that that is like in the realm of possibilities that the pattern can step in and be
mhm,
like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. I got to let me help you out here, bud.
yeah,
Can't have Rand going down right now."
yeah. I did think something that I did really enjoy in that moment is wrapping up like this mistrust between Rand and Moraine. Like I did enjoy that he stepped between Moraine and Lanfear and was like, "No, like you're not going to hurt her." Like for his character, it's nice to see him not being petulant and kind of being
Right.
like, "Look, like I need her. Like she's important." And whether he has any type of emotional feelings towards her or just believes that she is a tool, like the Amyrlin seat believes that Rand is a tool, I don't know. But I did like it going to Moraine and being like, hey, I trust you. Because throughout this whole season, Lanfear has been playing Rand and Moraine. Like the mistrust between the two. And she's like, yo, Rand, she did this and this to get you to do that. Like she's been using you.
Yeah,
So
and she had a
like,
point.
oh yeah, absolutely. So at this point, I have to assume that Rand is only going along with Lanfear right now because he doesn't want Moraine to die. He needs to get to Falm. He needs to rescue Egwene, and Lanfear really doesn't understand that he's using her as much as he is in this moment. I think she still hopes that he's naive and that
Mm.
he's kind of just following along. But
I mean, he has been historically naive. Definitely historically naive. So I could see where she would be hoping for that.
yeah, there's also too like the question of what happens next episode because for like the large scale stuff, we've got the rescue of Egwene and we've got the climax between Rand and Lanfear or Rand and Ashamael, Rand and the Shanchan. Like,
We got a lot, and we need to see some fire in the sky because he's
yes,
supposed to like this is supposed to be his debutante ball, basically. Like this
yeah,
is his coming out party whether he planned it or not. And I have a list of things that need to be wrapped up. I do
Tell
want to
me.
say this though.
Okay.
So, in the last scene of 207, I was actually really relieved to see some of the tension relieved between Moraine and Lan. Like, I was
Yes.
tired of watching them not get along. That was hurting my heart. I just want them to be friends again, like, just be a team again. And also, like, it was weird that we don't even know if Sanche is still alive, but
I
it was so overshadowed by what was happening in those moments that I don't really have many feelings about it. I'm like, we'll find out.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like from the books, so this is like full spoilers, like whatever.
Right.
From the books, like Swan Sanche is going to go through awful, awful stuff. Like the next season should be like the worst for her. And we've got Black Aja and the White Tower, so of course things are going to get bad. But also in this moment, like you said, everything's happening so fast. I didn't know if was she dead? Oh wait, no, like she's kind of moving. Like did her eyes move?
Yeah.
Okay, like the blood's trickling. Like is her heart still beating? Someone I'm sure going to show up in time to heal her because that's just
She's
how it
the
has to
Amyrlin
happen.
seat.
Yeah, yeah. It just has to happen. It's not like she went there alone, you know?
Right. There are certain, like, we're going to need to wrap up Ishmael, Matt Lanfear, that trio of whatever. Then we need to, I mean, we've already wrapped up Moiraine and Rand's relationship. We've wrapped up Moiraine and Lan's relationship.
Mhm.
We've basically put a wrap on Moiraine and Swan Shanche's relationship because, I
Yep.
mean, this would take some therapy to get past. So we have what's left is almost everybody's already in Falm. Now we've got Moraine, Lan, and Rand with Lanfear coming in through the ways. So what is it? For every step in the ways is like 100 miles in this, like in the regular dimension. So it's not going
Yeah.
to take them, I guess, too long to get there, I'd assume. So really, I guess a lot of it's going to be is seeing how all of this comes together. And like you said, we have Egwene's rescue, Rand's debutante ball, and then are we gonna do you think it's just over for Barthanes? Like, do you think that's that? Like that closed that, or do you think we're gonna see more of him later on?
Maybe not next episode, but like later on in the show at some point. If he's not dead, then yeah, I think
Yes.
he's coming
Okay.
back. The same with Maureen's sister. Yeah. I will say I did forget to talk about this, but it was something that I really loved and I really appreciated was the like Aes Sedai speech manipulations by Verin for getting
Oh my god,
Leanne out.
I forgot about Verin's scene, and it was
Yeah,
actually really
it was
good.
really
It was
good.
really good, but it was so short that I kind of
Mhm.
just forgot.
Yep.
Verin's
I
scenes were
love
very good.
yeah, and what I loved about like it was a whole like domino effect because Verin goes in to the cell, says the things that she needs to say to get Leanne out. Leanne goes to Swan Sanche and says, Verin said I like said that you sent me. And Swan's like, oh shit, like I didn't say that. So if Verin said that, she's assuming Verin lied. And if you can lie as an Aes Sedai, that means that you're Black Aja. So like this whole cascade of getting Swan from like that location to the next location, like mwah, like chef's kiss, loved it. That worked out like so well for me. I thought it was great.
Verin never specifically said Swan Sanche sent her though.
Right. She
'Cause I
said
watched that scene, like, 2 times, 2 or 3
she said
times just to make sure,
The Amyrlin requires your assistance. And then
which
she says, it's true,
is
true.
true.
And she also says, this is an order,
Yeah,
which if she's
true.
ordering it herself, then yeah.
That's also true.
The middle one was, I've been told to watch the boy. So Depend
Yeah.
you know, anyone could have told her to watch the boy, but anywhere along the way, someone could have said, like, "Keep an eye on him," or, like, even out in the courtyard when they arrive, like, I don't know, like, it could have been anything shared between her and Moiraine, her and her warder, or her since this is full spoilers, if you do not wanna be spoiled, a big, big spoiler,
Shut it
leave
off
now.
now.
Shut it off now. Or it could have been by Shamael or any of the Forsaken being like, "Watch him."
It was delightfully ambiguous. The wording
Delightfully.
was delightfully ambiguous. I loved it.
Mhm. Might
You
have
know
been one of my
something's
favorite
going
moments.
on. Yeah, you know
Yeah.
something's going on with Verin, but it's still kind of unclear. Like,
Mhm.
she's out here making very broad strokes with the truth, and it seems from, like, the surface level that she's just trying to help out her girl Moraine.
Yep.
But how does Verin know any of this? Because Moraine hasn't exactly been forthcoming with anyone.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing that's interesting because Moraine's gonna have to have questions now, or I'm assuming because Verin, they had that chat in episode 2, 3, I wanna say, I don't
Mhm.
remember, where she was like, "The boy that you were with, the Dragon Reborn," and Moraine's, like, reaching for a knife. So Verin knows he exists and has to assume who it is. So I'm
Right.
assuming when she showed up, like, she knew exactly what was going on in Kyrian.
Oh, definitely. Actually, her showing up in general was kind of, like, off the cuff too. She
Mhm.
is not, like, necessarily who I expected to come strolling in through that door to help Moraine out in that moment, but there she was.
Yep. Yep. I
Verin
love show Moiraine or show Moiraine, show Verin so much. So
Show
much.
Verin has got her finger on the pulse of what's going on.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
Yep.
she should be a Blue Aja, like an honorary Blue Aja.
She should. She should. Since I have you here, and this is something that we sometimes
Alright.
do, you know where I'm going with this?
I think let's find out.
Sometimes Laura and I like to crown a smog of the episode. The most theatrical character gets the smog award.
Oh,
Who are
yeah.
we going with this episode?
Logain.
Logan. I'm
His
torn.
his "This is the weave" dance. Can't top that.
It's so good. I
No,
also really
somebody please, somebody remix music to it and do it.
please, please,
Please.
please. Um, I'm torn because that's the first thing that came to mind, but the way that Lanfear delighted in causing chaos and just, like, bombing the entire city and, like, smiling while doing it, that that was
She
a mood.
That was a vibe, yeah. I
Yeah.
did enjoy "Let's let's set the town on fire, Lanfear," and the way she just rolls
Mhm.
in, she's like, "Swan Sanche, lay down, you're done." And then she was like,
The
"Now
way
I'm
she
killing
sent
Moraine."
the way she sent Swan flying. Uh,
I when Moraine jumped in, it was like, "Don't do it, she's too powerful," and Swan was like, "I'm doing it anyway." I was like, "This seems like a bad idea."
mhm,
Also,
mhm.
we've got Rand in the room, so that might tend to make her a little nuttier. And
Yep,
then actually one thing I noticed that was really indicative of how powerful Lanfear actually is did you notice how long it took Moraine to open that way gate versus Lanfear was like, "Get that thing open, we're going now."
yep, yep.
Okay, I do see how Lanfear would probably take the overall smog award. Logain
But
gets
that
the Logain gets the honorary award just for his little
it was
this
so
is
good.
this is the weave dance.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps things up. Make sure you go and follow Laura's channel. I will link it down in the description below. She's got an episode that should be coming out very
Very
shortly,
soon.
if not already there by the time this is out. So make sure you go and check it out. And we will see you back next time, probably to wrap up the season. So
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, and we will be back then.